Have you ever watched a piece of fiction and realized that it isn't really fiction anymore? That's the unsettling space occupied by the television show The Boys. The terrifying thing about The Boys isn't that the writers are inventing a dystopia. It's that they're just holding up a mirror to the factionalism and the polarization in the world today. What started as a bloody comedy about corporate superheroes has evolved into one of the sharpest mirrors of modern American culture on television. Specifically, its brutal, unblinking satire of Christian nationalism. For a lot of casual viewers, the show's portrayal of faith-molded politics looks like a wild, over-the-top caricature. But if you know what you look for, you realize the writers aren't exaggerating at all. Understanding that playbook isn't just about analyzing a TV show. It's about understanding how our real-world landscape is being actively fractured right under our noses. Today, we're going to look past the capes and the gore to unpack why this satire is an urgent warning. We'll look at how easily ancient faith can be weaponized into modern political power and what happens when truth is swallowed by ideological warfare. Welcome to the Altarless Traveler, a space for the spiritually curious, the questioners, and the deconstructors. In the world of The Boys, the commercialization of faith isn't just a background detail. It's the primary engine of the narrative. We see this explicitly in the evolution of O Father, the show's resident mega church pastor. He begins as a classic televangelist archetype, someone who clearly cares far more about money, power, and building a corporate empire than he does about saving actual souls. But look at what happens when the political winds shift. Oh Father doesn't just pivot, he completely swaps out his savior. He goes from preaching the gospel of Jesus to eagerly proclaiming that Homelander is God's chosen instrument on earth. And the terrifying part, his followers don't even blink. They go right along with it, transferring their absolute spiritual devotion to an unstable, narcissistic superhero because their trusted religious leader told them it was holy. It gets even more specific. The show drops a line that went over the heads of most casual viewers, but sent a chill down the spine of anyone tracking modern political theology. A character explicitly references taking over the 7 mountains. For those unfamiliar, this isn't just creative sci-fi writing. It's a direct reference to the 7 Mountain Mandate, a very real dominionist movement within evangelical Christianity. That word, dominionism, isn't a metaphor. It is the literal belief that the church's job isn't to attain heaven, but to conquer earth. The man who coined the term 7 Mountain Mandate put it bluntly. He wrote that the goal is to install Christians at the peak of those spheres to occupy the territory until he comes. A recent 2024 national poll revealed just how fast this is moving. 41% of American Christians now believe it's their divine duty to implement this mandate.
We should dominate the 7 mountains of society.
When the boys drop that line, it's not inventing a villain, it's holding up a mirror to the movement that wants to trade American democracy for theocracy. And if you think the show is exaggerating how seamlessly real-world faith can be distorted for political power, just look at the headlines around us. We're only scratching the surface with the show's examples. In the real world right now, we have a political candidate selling branded $60 God Bless the USA Bibles alongside campaign stops. Made in China. Boom! Here they are in The Boys. We saw official campaign ads flatly proclaiming on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made Trump. And what do you make of this?
Americans, God's chosen people.
That's not Trump's ad. That's an ad for Homelander in The Boys.
The true American prophet.
We get the surreal moment where an AI image surfaces of a robed, Christ-like figure healing people, only for the candidate to claim on the news that he thought the image just showed him as a doctor making people better. And here Jesus names Homelander the new Christ.
And I accept.
So here's Trump, and here's Homelander. Just tell me what this is supposed to mean, especially in a nation where the Constitution indisputably states a separation of church and state. We could go on, unfortunately, and to me, that's sad. When you lay it out like that, the satire of the boys isn't even a caricature anymore. It's practically a documentary. This is what's called satire bankruptcy, when reality becomes too absurd for fiction to exaggerate. In her firecracker, she represents the ultimate evolution of this ecosystem. She isn't a theologian, she's a media manipulator. She understands that in a hyper-polarized world, you don't win over people with logic or with deep spiritual truth, but by weaponizing their feelings, feeding their grievances, and validating their deepest fears. Growing up, there was always a comfort in political and religious parody. We watched The Simpsons gently poke fun at suburban church life. Saturday Night Live turned politicians into harmless caricatures, and South Park pushed absurdity to its absolute limit. From a distance, the boys look like it's just following in those same footsteps, trying to be the most shocking, absurd comedy on the block. But there's a difference. Those older shows were laughing at the gaps between our ideals and our reality. The Boys isn't laughing anymore. It's sounding the loudest alarm on television because the gap between its fiction and our headlines has completely vanished. When the line between a dystopian TV show and our morning news dissolves, it's easy to slip into cynicism. The Boys reminds us how dangerous it is to surrender our minds to a political strongman, an institution, or a man in a cape. But the antidote to this madness isn't finding a better superhero. It's logic, reason, and the courage to think for yourself. When you strip away dogmatic control, you don't lose meaning, you reclaim it. True awe, morality, and purpose come from facing reality together, not from an altar or a flag. If you're navigating the space between what you used to believe and what you know is true, hit subscribe. Let's keep exploring. I'm Andrew, and I'll see you on the road. Thank you.